Mm-hmm.
Relax.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're at the stage now where we have finished mixing up the chocolate base, and we've whipped the egg whites. We've got the mixture into the cup, and so we're ready to put the soufflés into the oven. So I hope you've been following along really carefully, because we're almost done with the process. So, April Fool! Welcome to the Bean Scene, episode 8. My name's Stephen Durfee. I am chef for the day. My friends at Dandelion so graciously asked if I would host an episode of the program, and so we're here in my own kitchen, and today we're going to be making chocolate soufflés featuring Dandelion's Camino Verde chocolate from Ecuador. So it's true, I actually did go through the process of making everything. So we're going to take these soufflés, we're going to put them into the oven. It's going to take about 20 minutes for them to bake, and during that 20 minutes I'm going to show you how I did this process, and then we'll get, just as those are ready to go in the oven, these should be ready to come out of the oven, so you'll be able to see the entire process through in about 20 minutes. Okay, so here we go. I've got my mix already into a ramekin. Right, I got my oven set at 400 degrees. We're going to pop them in. Set your timers, please, for 20 minutes, because that's when I'm going to need to have somebody tell me to take those out of the oven. All right? So, hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. My name's Stephen Durfee. I'm a pastry chef and instructor at the Culinary Institute of America at Greystone in beautiful Napa Valley, and friend of Dandelion Chocolate. Today we're here to explain how to use craft chocolate to make a delicious chocolate soufflé. I think a lot of times people are intimidated by the idea of a soufflé. It's thought to be something that's really challenging to make, and actually it's not that complicated. So I wanted to walk you through the process today, everything that I did, show you how to make a chocolate soufflé at home. Right? There's a couple things that we're going to need to have organized, and so I've got the recipe. I posted it on my Instagram page at Chef Durfee, and I shared it with Dandelion. We're actually live streaming on both platforms today, on Dandelion's page and on my page. So no matter where you go, you can see the same thing. So just to explain very quickly what we have 2 of Dandelion's Camino Verde chocolate bars right here. Right? I've got butter and flour. Right? I've got some milk. I've got a little bit of brandy, right? And I wrote into the recipe that you can use brandy in the recipe, or you could substitute it with like espresso. You could substitute it with a fruit puree if you wanted to. You could even use water, right? I chose brandy for today, and then I got a couple of eggs, right? The first thing I'm going to do is prepare my soufflé molds, and so I've got 6 molds. The yield for this recipe is about 6. Right? And we're going to start off by taking some soft butter. Right? We call this pomade. Right? Like you'd say, like pomade you would put in your hair. But we say it in French, pomade. Beurre pomade means softened butter. Right? And I'm going to butter the inside of my mold carefully. I don't want to make a mess on the outside. And make sure that it's buttered all the way around. Right? And I'll do the last one. I've got these started already, so I'm just going to finish the last 2. And there we go. So we're broadcasting live, which means that there's an opportunity for you to ask questions. So if anybody has questions as we go along, make sure you send them my way. Okay? And then we're going to take a little bit of coarse sugar, and we're just going to butter and sugar the mold. And so I poured the excess sugar out. Okay, now I've got all 6 of my molds ready. Okay? And I'm going to take the prepared molds, I'm going to put them in the fridge. It helps to have the molds cold before we start. In the restaurant, this is something we would do early in the day, then we set them aside. So if the mold is chilled, it's going to help the soufflé to rise up, so you get a nice top hat type of finish on your soufflé, as opposed to something that's going to round. Right? I've been careful to butter all the way to the edge. Can we put these in the fridge? Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our chocolate, we're going to chop it up. I don't have to be too careful. I can actually just break this up into little pieces, but I'll show you. We're going to chop it up. Okay, and I can chop it with a serrated knife. You know, Camino Verde chocolate is one of my favorites from Dandelion, and they actually sell that not just in bar forms, but in a bag, a 500-gram bag that they identify as being chef's chocolate. So if you're buying Camino Verde chef's chocolate, it actually comes to you broken up, kind of looking like this, and it's untempered. So it actually is very handy for using in recipes because it's easier for that to melt. All right, so I'm going to take the chocolate, I'm going to set that aside, and we're going to move on. So the next part of the recipe, right, we're going to take some soft butter and some flour. Right? We're going to take a bowl, and we're going to combine these two. It's kind of like making a roux, but we're going to call it by a different name. We call this beurre for butter, beurre manier, right? And manier literally means hand. So this is butter and flour that is blended by hand. And so in fact, it's kind of like making a roux, but instead of cooking it, it's a raw blend of butter and flour. We're just going to mix that around to make a paste. And this is something, again, that you might do in advance, right, of the formula. And so, again, in a restaurant, we might actually have beurre manier as a pre-mixed, I don't know, staple item, something that we use to thicken a sauce. And it functions like a roux does, but it's not pre-cooked. So we're using this as a thickener to make a sort of a variation of a bechamel sauce. So now that I've got that blended into a nice paste, right, I'm going to take my milk, I'm going to heat it up. So I've got a pretty small pot here, and actually I would suggest using a bigger pot. This is just handy because it's going to be easier for you to view. Right? And the reason I would choose a bigger pot is that I'm going to be able to whisk it without making such of a mess. So I'm just going to have to be really careful here. So I've got that over a medium heat. Just want to heat it up until it just starts to simmer. Then I'm going to take the beurre manier mixture, I'm going to whisk it in there and blend it till it thickens up. So the reason that we're mixing the butter and flour in advance is that it allows me to blend it very, very carefully without having the flour become thick or getting lumpy. So if you ever made a sauce before and you found that it gets lumpy in that process, this is a way to help solve that problem. The fat in the butter surrounds the particles of flour, so it just melts very, very gradually and allows me to whisk it in carefully without having it separate. All right, so I've got a couple of eggs over here. I'm going to take just a second. I don't want to boil my butter by accident. So one of the things, or boil my milk over by accident, so I want to pay attention to that. So we're going to separate the eggs, and I just want to point out that in the formula it mentions that you're going to use 3 egg yolks and 4 whites. So that's not a mistake, right? So I just want to be careful. I don't want to boil this over. I'm going to wait. All right. Yeah. So we're going to use the 3 yolks and 4 whites. So okay, so we're just going to hang out for 1 second, waiting for my milk to get hot. It's almost ready. All right. Do we have any questions? Yes, we do. All right, cool.
I'd like to know what % of chocolate you're using today.
Yeah, so this is Dandelion's 70% Camino Verde, which is exactly what you would get if you were to purchase their chef's chocolate. Most of Dandelion's chocolate is at 70%, and actually Camino Verde is the only one that's not. You can get Camino Verde 100% and 85% as well. 70% means that in a 100-gram sample, you can kind of think of it as being 70 grams of cocoa nibs and 30 grams of sugar ground together. So, okay, here we go. My mixture comes up to a boil. I'm going to bring that right over here so you can see. And I'm going to take this butter flour mixture, I'm going to add it right into the milk. Okay? Is there another question?
Yeah, one is if you're using a larger souffle dish, how many cups do you need?
Oh, gosh. You know, I was just sort of thinking somebody was going to ask that. So I deliberately chose, first of all, to use small souffle dishes. While I answer that question, I'm going to stir the butter flour mixture into the milk. I'll come back to that in just a second. So you're going to see what happens is it's going to become thickened up, right, and look like a very, very thick gravy. You see how I don't get any lumps because of the technique that allows me to blend that together with a pre-mixed butter and flour. Okay, so I'm going to come back to that question. Hold it for 1 second. So you see how this thickens up? It looks kind of like mashed potatoes, thin. And put this back on a very low heat, right? And I'm going to add to it my brandy. This is why I wish I had a slightly bigger pot, because I want to stir this, super carefully so I don't splash it out. And if I had a bigger pot, it would allow me to stir it, a little bit more vigorously and not have it splash. All right, but for camera, it works better. Okay, now I'm going to add the chocolate. I'm still thinking about the answer to that question. I know it. All right, so in goes the chocolate. In goes the chocolate. And you can see how the chocolate starts to melt and blend inside. Okay, I can put this back over the heat to warm it up just a little bit more. I want to ensure that the chocolate is completely melted and that the mixture doesn't separate. I don't splash it. It looks pretty good. Actually, I think I have enough heat so that the chocolate is totally melted. All right. And what we're making here is sort of a backwards version of what we would call pastry cream. So I've got the milk, I've got the flour component, I've got some butter, and I'm going to add some eggs to it. I'm just going to add the eggs separately. So I'm going to take some egg yolks, and I'm going to add that to this base mixture. Then I'm going to add the egg whites in the form of a meringue. So I set that aside for 1 second. I'm going to transfer from this pot into a larger bowl. All right. And then I'm going to add some egg yolks. So I got it out of the hot pot. I don't want to add the egg yolks directly into the pot, or they just might cook and scramble. Okay? So here's the thing: when we're making the souffle formula, I actually prefer to use individual molds. Number one, because I think it's more convenient for the service. Whoa! Be careful, egg white. Be careful. All right, set the yolk over here. It's more convenient for the service that everybody gets their individual portion. A big souffle certainly looks really, really fun, but it's hard to serve because when you bring it to the table, then you have to cut it up and everybody just gets served like a bit of it, and it's not as attractive. The other thing is that it's a little bit more complicated when you're baking a large souffle, because it's going to take so much longer that you're much more likely to have the mixture overbake on the outside before the center gets cooked all the way through to the middle. Now, having said that, okay, it's definitely possible, and we would usually do that by taking a 3-cup souffle mold, and we'll wrap a piece of paper, buttered paper, around the outside to form a collar, and you can hold that in place with a little bit of tape or a rubber band, and then you make a large batch by pouring all the mixture in. It will rise up. When we put the collar around the outside, because it's not going to have enough stability to hold its own shape, then when it's totally baked, you just remove the collar. All right, so let me go ahead and add the egg yolks into the base mixture, and then we can set this aside, and I'll answer another question. So this is what I refer to as the souffle base mixture. It's totally prepared now, and in fact, even though I've done this right now in front of your eyes, I could have done it I could have done it an hour ago, I could have done it yesterday, I actually could have done it a week ago. I would take this mixture now, and you can see it looks like chocolate pudding. Right? And I could put this, I could cover it with plastic, I could put it away into the refrigerator and let it hang out there for up to a week. So that's really handy, because if you want to make your souffle at the last minute, then you can have this much done in advance and set it aside. Okay? So I'm going to continue on right now, but it's nice to know that I could have just done it earlier and set it aside. So towards that end, if you do choose to do that, then you will need to take the mixture out of the fridge, and you'll find it's set up very much like a chocolate pudding, which means you're going to have to warm it up a little bit, which you can do either over simmering water or in the microwave, just that to room temperature is slightly warm, and you're going to have to beat it with a whisk in order for it to soften up to get back to this particular texture. Hey, do we have another question? Yeah.
We do. Should the eggs be room temperature?
Yes. And I think I wrote that into the recipe in the first place. Absolutely, the eggs want to be at room temperature, not so much for the yolks, but for the whites. And it really makes an impact when we're making the whites, and the eggs start off at room temperature in order to get the most stable meringue. What's next?
Do you have any good ideas for leftover egg yolks?
Yeah, we never have leftover egg yolks in a restaurant pastry kitchen. We use all the egg yolks for making custards, and so ice cream mixtures, any type of custard, usually we have leftover egg whites, and so that's what makes it's great for getting rid of some of the extras. But those are just two typical examples. I generally use them for making ice cream. Okay, we're going to move on, and the next part of the formula is to make the meringue. So the souffle base mixture is over here. We're going to start the meringue. I have to apologize right now. My mixer is old, right? And so because it's old, it's getting a little bit noisy. And so I'm going to have to speak loud over the noise. Okay? Here's the key to a successful meringue. Start with room temperature egg whites, okay? And we want to not mix it at high speed. So a successful meringue combines two things. It's stable, right? And it has the most possible volume. So what we're relying on with meringue is to trap a lot of air inside the egg whites so that when we fold it into the base mixture, then we put that trapped air in the base, we put it into the oven, and just like a hot air balloon, it's going to expand. And the hot air balloon pop, you're out of luck. Whereas if you have a whole lot of little balloons attached to a house and one balloon pops, you're still going to make it all the way to South America. That's what I want. I want a lot of little balloons. So gradually add the sugar. And wow, it's so rich and thick, it looks like a beautiful shaving cream inside of my bowl. Now I can turn it up just ever so slight. And it takes like 3 or 4 minutes to make the meringue. And it's really glossy. If you could see inside, you would be excited. Okay, I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Here we go. Move this out of the way. Okay, that looks genius. Look at that. It's like an elf hat. That's what we want. All right. So I'm going to take some of this meringue, just a little bit, and I'm going to add it to my souffle base, and I'm going to stir it in just to soften up the base. This would be more important if the base mixture was a little colder, like I had made it earlier and set it aside. So we soften it up, and now in goes the rest of the meringue. Very, very carefully, I'm going to fold it in. Okay? So folding means gradually lifting the tube and cutting the meringue into the base. Hey, do we have another question while I'm folding?
Yeah, we got two. One person asked, what texture should a souffle be? Should it be set or more flowy?
Yeah, so it's not like meat where you're going to cook it to, where you have that many choices like medium or well. You want to have the meringue, you want to have the finished souffle baked so that it's going to hold up its shape and not collapse, but not overbake. Right? And so the way that we indicate that, when we take the souffle out of the oven, we're going to test it. And, I don't really want to touch my face because I'm not supposed to be touching. So wash my hands and not touch my face, but this is it. You want to touch your nose. You want to go like this. Okay? Right there. And if you could just reach through the camera and touch my nose, that's the texture you want your souffle to be when it's done. Right? So, I fold and I fold and I fold. Was there another question? Yeah. Okay, I got my timer is going off. Holy smokes, they look amazing. Okay, we're going to, wow, I got to get these into the mold. Can I have the molds out of the fridge, please? So I'm folding as carefully as I can, given the fact that my time is almost up. It's been 20 minutes, and I'm going to lose the race. I got to get this souffle mixture into the cup. And so you could either use a pastry bag, or you could use a large spoon, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this large spoon, and I'm going to start spooning the mixture so carefully into the chocolate cup. Don't spill it on the edge. We're going to fill them right up to the tippy top, just like so. Okay? And meanwhile, because the timer did indeed go off, I'm going to set this aside, and we're ready for the big reveal. Watch this. Zoom in. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Look at that. Oh, man. They look beautiful. Right out of the oven, this is how you want to serve your chocolate souffle, okay? So, we're going to take a little powdered sugar. We're going to dust the top of powdered sugar. I wish I had some friends over here right now. Oh my gosh. I'm going to dust the top with powdered sugar. Just like this. All right, and now, because it's super hot, it's really a nice thing to do is to get a plate. And we're going to put the souffle on a plate. It's hot. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we did like that. Ow, that's hot too. Okay. And now, to finish, can I have my whipped cream, please? Okay. This is the classic in the fridge. Yeah, in the fridge. We're going to take some whipped cream, and we're going to take 2 forks. So now I'm not the chef anymore. Now I'm the maitre d'. I'm going to go to the table, and you're probably going to say something like, ooh la la. And I'm going to take a fork and a spoon, and I'm going to, in front of the guest, not in the kitchen, but in front of the guest, I'm going to plunge my fork and spoon right into the soft souffle like that. Right? I'm going to take some of my lightly whipped cream. I'm going to pour it right into the top. That's it. That's chocolate souffle right there. Oh my God. Oh my God. So good. It's so good. And you know what? It's dandelion chocolate. You know, when we did the brownie recipe the other day, I talked about the importance of using high quality chocolate in order to get a great brownie. And the awesome thing about it was that when you change and you use a different chocolate, like if you were to use not the Camino Verde chocolate, but if you were to use the chocolate from Madagascar, it gives you dramatically different results, right? It still puffs up, but it tastes totally different. And so it's a great way to evaluate the flavor of your chocolate, because using different chocolates is going to give you different flavors. I'm going to finish and get this batch into the oven. My kids are right there. They're right behind the camera like, give me souffle. Okay, so here we go. Ouch, 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 ouch. All right, last time to view it. There it is. All right, you can grab one of those and eat it while it's hot and put some whipped cream on it, and everyone's going to be super jelly because you get it and they don't. And I'm going to put the rest of this in because we're going to have to eat more souffles. Do we have more questions coming?
Yes, we do.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up in just a minute, but let's have Q&A before we sign off.
We have a quick question and a short question.
Okay.
Quick question, is there going to be a recipe posted somewhere?
Yeah, it's already posted at Chef Durfee on my Instagram page, right? And so I tagged Dandelion, and so I thought that means that it's going to be on Dandelion's page, but I'm not an Insta genius, so I'm not sure. But I will try it one more time, right? And we can. You know, we already hacked in last night and stole Dandelion's Instagram page, so I probably am able to do it. I guess we're broadcasting right now. I'll put up the answer to that question in just a second. All right, anything else?
There was a question about
But
butter.
Butter.
The question there's European butters can be so much fattier than American butters.
Yeah,
Is
delicious.
that
Love
going
it.
to affect
Yeah.
this?
Hey, these molds are just a little bit smaller, just ever so a little bit smaller. Right? And because I fold like a genius, I have a little extra. So I probably could have made 7, and it's really special. I don't want to throw this away for sure. So when I say the yield is 6, I had slightly bigger molds, and you could maybe stretch this to get 1 more. So just know that. Right? What was the question?
The question is a fattier European style butter going to affect the baking?
Yeah, so I don't think that it's going to have that much of an impact. You know, the difference is going to be, if you think about how much fatty chocolate is going in there in the first place, I would say no. It's not going to make enough of an impact to make that big of a difference. Okay? We have one more question?
Do you deliver?
I wish.
There's one more question. So you used a KitchenAid mixer
Yeah.
when you were making this. Can you do it without one?
Well, it's difficult to make a meringue by hand. We had to do it when I was in cooking school. But certainly you could use a hand blender. You can make a meringue. But if you have to do it by hand, it's going to be a lot more work. Of course, it's possible. People made soufflés and made meringues before mixers were invented. But it's just that much more work. Yeah. You have one last, or is that it? Okay, that's it. Okay, hey, thank you so much for tuning in to the bean scene. I'm Stephen Durfee. I hope you enjoy it, and check out the recipe and make your own chocolate souffle at home. All right? Bye-bye.